This podcast contains some magical adult language. Listener discretion is advised. And sorry, Mom.
I'm going to Disney World. I'm going to...
Whoa. You are not Mickey Mouse, you're a rat.
Rat smack! Besides, they're tourists. What do they know?
Welcome to Rat Castle, a progressive chat about Disney magic without the pixie dust. I'm Sarah, and with me today are Nathan.
Oh, hello, Sarah.
Hi, Nathan. We also have Dave.
Howdy.
Janine.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi, and Victoria.
Hello.
And today's podcast is really special because we have a special guest today. Victoria, if you want to introduce them.
Yeah, so you may know her from her sassy TikToks, and she has recently hit what was it, like over 100,000 followers? You know, no big deal. But we're introducing today our first guest ever, Tremaine Talk, aka Jessica.
Yay!
Woo! That's so exciting. That makes me sound way more important than I actually am.
I mean, we have a podcast. This is our third episode, so we understand feeling more important than we actually are. So.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with theme parks. So, Victoria, do you have anything you want to tell us about what's been going on there?
Yeah, so we're going to start off by talking about the Celebrate Soulfully at Disney Parks. So pretty much it's just a bunch of little mini events at Disney World and Disneyland to celebrate Black History Month. I don't know if any of you have really dived into it, but
A little.
Just a tad. I mean, it's
not the best, in my opinion.
It's could be better. I'm trying to
Are they doing like the bare minimum? Is that the problem? Or
it's not the fact that they're doing the bare minimum, it's the fact that they're promoting things that are pretty much there every day. Like like
the drummers and Harambe. Yeah.
Right, like the drummers, the Festival of the Lion King show.
What?
Oh, the movies Under the Stars at the resorts that they do every night.
The Soul of Jazz at American Adventure, that's been up for like a year. That's been up when they opened the movie Soul. Right. Yeah. Come on.
But also it's a traveling exhibit. It's not even there, I don't think, right now. I think it's in Harlem.
Well, they have aspects. I mean, it's usually like 5 items, and they're amazing items, like John Coltrane's saxophone. And
oh, absolutely.
They're amazing, but it's not.
It's very small.
Yeah, it's super small.
I'm looking at it right now, and I'm remembering that I saw it.
But it's like, it feels like it's nothing at all. Like, there's nothing new. There's no new foods or shows or like anything that would show that they're quote unquote celebrating soulfully. It just doesn't feel like there's anything going on.
Well, let's not. I mean, can we talk about the fact that I don't remember them fully embracing Black History Month until they had a movie to sell? Or is that just me?
True.
There it is. But it's also post their fifth key thing, right? Like that was.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Inclusion or whatever, or inclusivity.
Yeah. It's interesting though, if you look at the announcement, I'm looking at the website, the Parks blog right now, and it's like, it doesn't say it's an event. It's very carefully worded in that it's just celebrate Black Culture and History Month. And here's all the stuff that we have that we can loosely throw together to celebrate that. But if you read it, it's like, I guess it does say bringing new culturally rich experiences to Walt Disney Resort first time. And it's like, what's new? Tell me what's new.
It really doesn't feel new.
The only thing that I've seen that's new is that they've had steppers come in to DAC.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the only thing I've seen. And I'm like, even then, I get it because stepping does come from like African dance. And I get that. But I'm like, you could have easily done that at Epcot. Or even better, take it one step further and put those performances at Disney Springs where it's accessible to everyone to see. You don't have to buy a ticket just to do that.
Disneyland's always had a gospel thing. They've been doing that for over a decade.
Right.
But so it says there's a bunch of like gospel groups and gospel singers and Grammy Award winners performing. So it sounds like there's actually an entertainment program lined up for that. But they already did that. They're just repackaging it now.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like there's anything new. But Jessica, you had something that you want to say about the topic?
So just to put it in perspective, I live in Orlando, drive by Disney on a regular basis, and I'm there a lot, at least at the Springs, and I've literally never heard of any of these offerings.
Yeah.
And I live here. So that just tells you how heavily they've promoted it.
They're like one bullet point away from being like, hey, we've got Frederick Douglass in the American Adventure. Like, does that count? Can we just say that we have Frederick Douglass?
No.
He's already mentioned. Yeah,
He's
right.
on a raft. We got Frederick Douglass on a raft.
Also, have you been to the Hall of Presidents?
Yeah, right.
Obama.
We have one of
The
those.
one guy.
Just one. Just the one.
But you know what I did see promotion for? Festival of the Arts. I've seen that.
They're already starting it for Food and Wine, for our Food and
Yeah,
Wine.
I
Stuff
saw
out already today.
Lucky.
Ours is it's usually like in April, like or
Yeah,
like late March,
yeah,
early April,
yeah.
around that time. I love
Yeah.
Food and Wine, so I'm excited for that. But Victoria, do you want to go ahead and move on to Disney performers? Do you have something that you want to tell us about that?
Well, that sounds like more of Jessica's territory. So, so yes, our guest is here today to discuss the treatment of Disney performers, and essentially they're being used for clout on various social platforms, mainly TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
What's your TikTok name? At
Tremaine Talk.
it is so choice. You must listen to it and watch it because it's just this beautifully, wonderfully acerbic takedown of these idiots that do this thing. So Jessica, tell us how this started. Tell us what drove that video.
So, well, there's a lot of them, but essentially my whole TikTok started the very, very end of April 2021, so super recent. I posted a story time about that one of the videos of me as a performer that went viral. Just as a story time, I didn't think anything would happen with it. I was just like, oh, this is just kind of cool, a story to share. And it kind of exploded over the course of that last weekend in April. And ever since then, I kind of was like, oh, well, I guess people are interested in hearing about this stuff because I guess I didn't really think about it. And then fast forward to these character videos just started going, they started going viral. And I noticed that a lot of these creators were making content that was not them. It was just the characters. So they were literally just going up to characters and talking to them and posting it to make money. And me knowing that what these performers make, it just really, really hit me the wrong way because I personally know a lot of performers who have either been reprimanded or fired for similar videos. And even if, you know, the performers in these specific ones weren't fired or weren't reprimanded, it's just there's so much of a larger issue as to the ethicality of doing it.
It's like they're exploiting these workers to make their own money and making them intensely uncomfortable in the process. And they're stuck in this spot where like you have to play along, but also are you playing along too much? Is it not enough? Like you have to like thread this impossible needle to generate someone else's content for them and get nothing out of it. It's insane.
Exactly.
May I get an example of
Right.
what one of these TikTokers might do, just to give the audience kind of a concept?
Yeah. So essentially there's a couple of them, but essentially they all follow the same formula. So usually it's somebody going up to a performer with their phone or, you know, a GoPro or whatever, and talking to the character, sometimes in storyline, sometimes trying to like purposefully mess with them. But essentially talking to them in order to make a viral TikTok or YouTube video. And then taking that content and posting it, and that's it. So there's really that's really what all of the videos end up looking like. Like it's all basic.
I feel like a really good example was one that I saw, and this one went really viral on TikTok, where somebody went up to what's Captain Marvel. So they went up to her and they were asking her, "Oh, are you for gay rights?" And it's like it
So
really
I did a video about that one.
yeah, it put the character in a really uncomfortable position because it's like even if they like were for gay rights, they couldn't really say that because it doesn't really match the character's story or like in their world. Like that's not something that they really can talk about. And you could see in the comments, like a lot of the performer ended up saying like I think she kind of just like moved on from it, but a lot of people in the comments were like, "Wow, like Captain Marvel is like anti-LGBT," and like people were going
right because they
Ugh.
don't understand like they have to follow certain rules in certain storylines.
Yes, those videos are like the worst ones. Like the guy who asked, the Grinch to be his baby daddy.
that one was weird.
Like
That was
yeah,
weird.
so like
Yeah.
there's ones like that, but then you also have videos where they're just talking to the character for content. Like they're just going up and staying in character and asking them questions and then posting it. And on the surface, people look at me like I'm crazy because they're like, there's nothing wrong with this interaction. The problem is that the performer who will never see a cent of that money made from that video and who has to stay anonymous. So they can't go into that vlogger's comments and say, "This is me performing," or else they will be fired.
Get fired. Right.
They have to stay anonymous. They will never see a cent of that money and they assume all of the risk. So if a manager sees that and wants to write them up for, and those of you who work for Disney, for poor judgment, they can do it and it's completely subjective and they assume all of that risk. And if they get fired for that and they want to try and get rehired through the union, they can't come out and say, "Oh, I was fired for this. This is me in this video." Like they can't go to the public about it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're bringing all that up in your videos and here because like it boils down to these TikTokers, these content creators that are making money off of stuff in the real world are trying to, it literally is just for clicks. Like it's not actual, fuck these people because it's not actual content. They're not funny. They're literally going into a fantasy world and bringing real world problems into these characters' worlds. And it's like, why? To what end? Only for you to get clicks and money. You're assholes. Stop it.
Like you said, like it's not real content. Like I feel like the Disney community, whether it be like on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, it's become so saturated that you need to do something that will like shock the viewers so that they kind of come in. So it's like I can kind of understand it from that perspective, but when you're like messing with someone's livelihood, their ability to have a job, like a consistent wage, I feel like that's when you're crossing the line, and it kind of feels as if it is exploitation at that point because they're not going to be getting none of that AdSense or none of that content creator fund or whatever, and you're kind of just like, because a lot of these people are boring. They're not even funny. They're not good at it. They're not at all. And it's like, I get it.
They're not talented.
Not at all. And it's like you're making money off of someone else's talent, their face, all that stuff. And I feel like it also creates a weird like relationship between the content creator and the cast member, because now whenever they see that cast member, they think that they're friends and they're not. That person's doing a job.
I caught a lot of flack because I made a video stitching a video by Sarah Daniels, who I personally know her. But there's a lot of like private groups where us performers like kind of talk to each other, ask for help, ask for advice, honestly use each other to talk about the shared experience, because all of us have eating disorders. All of us have issues that stem from our time being performers, whether they're current or former. And I essentially came out in a video and was like, all of these performers hate you, like to the vloggers,
right?
Because they want to pretend like, oh, these performers are my friends, when in reality, if they could see, like, if Jojo could see half the things these girls write about him in this group, he might think twice about saying they're his friend or saying that all the performers love him, because the reality is that he has made a lot of enemies in Disney Entertainment. And he has personally hurt many performers and continues to.
Is he the same guy that consistently goes backstage and says, "Oh, they know me. I feel like
Yeah.
I've seen."
Ugh,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
him.
ugh.
And he doesn't even work there anymore, right? So
The male entitlement.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like being the person that goes off to college and then comes back to the high school and
Yeah.
is like, "Hey, what's
Oh,
up?
creepy.
Yes.
I'm
Ugh.
back."
it's like you peaked. Let's move on. Yeah.
I mean, do you guys all remember Andy is coming? Do you remember the Andy is coming
Yeah.
fad?
I was
Yeah.
there. I was there for that.
Wow.
Oh,
As a
God.
performer. And I was Buzz Lightyear during that time.
And that's the thing is that for me was at least for me. I don't know. I'm sure there's been other waves, but that was for me the moment where I felt that the internet realized, oh, like what it has always been is you as a person, as a guest, you come and there's improv happening to you, but you don't do improv back. You're still the
Yeah.
audience, right? So they can
Right.
talk to you about things and they can sort of welcome you into the moment and you kind of nod and smile and get your picture. But that was the moment that they thought, well, this is a two-way street because you see, I also have an audience and I also have so we're all going to play in the same realm, but no one's welcomed them on stage. That's the thing they don't
Yep.
seem to understand. People treat character actors like they're the purple wall. Well, I can do the same thing the other person did, and I
Yeah.
can get the same, I can put the same filter on, and I can do the same thing. And it's not how they're people.
Here's the thing. I've lived that life as a performer. I have permanent injuries from my time as a performer, but I would never give back my time. Like I would still do it all again. However, everything else aside, is this content or not? The biggest question is this ethical? And are we doing something that's ethical? And
Yeah.
in my opinion, no matter how cute or funny the content is, it's not ethical. Until the performers can take videos of themselves and post it for views, which they're not allowed to do, it's not ethical because that performer is not in control of their own image, which they agreed to when they started to work for Disney, but they did not sign up for making JoJo 6 figures in income for his YouTube and TikTok videos. That's not what they signed up for. So that's the difference, is like, all it does, all you have to do is like do a quick search on, you know, a vlogger's views and engagement, and you can guess how much money they make. Like there's not a lot of money in TikTok, but on YouTube and in paid sponsorships and stuff, which JoJo has, he's looking at a 6-figure income, and just in his internet stuff. So if you think he is building his entire business off the backs of these low-wage workers, and to me that is unethical, which is why as a creator, you will never see me videoing performers in the parks, and you will never see me posting performers performing as content. I may post a picture of me with a character or something like that on my Instagram, but I will never share an interaction because it is not acceptable for me to profit on my monetized platform from somebody else's performance.
You know, the monetization and the TikTok issue, and that's the ethical question. What the fun side of it, and I'm sure you have tons of stories about this, Jessica, are when people lean into the fantasy and interact with you in a funny way. Like I defy any smartass to try to one up Cruella or Maleficent or Lady Tremaine because they will destroy you. They will absolutely destroy you. And the training for that to me as a former kid performer, like just watching these actors improv their way through these you know bratty 14-year-olds, it just makes me so happy because it's an unbelievable skill.
Can we just take a minute to appreciate that Disney hired a Lady Tremaine from New Jersey? Can we just take a minute to
That's
appreciate?
Perfect.
You know, I was hired at a way inappropriate age to play that character, but just saying, like, I don't think they could have picked a smart-assier both fun.
Yeah. Like even the kind face characters. I remember when I was a teenager, I thought I was being very funny when I went up to Snow White and asked her, "Where's your brother Barry?" Barry White being a singer. And she's like, "Barry, I don't think there's a Barry in this kingdom." And Doc was right next to her. And Doc does this. And she looks at him and goes, "Doc thinks you're crazy." And like, shut it down. She shut me down. And it was so sweet and funny and dumb. You know, taught me a lesson,
adorable.
basically.
I just feel like there's like a lot of entitlement from the content creators. Like hot take. Okay. I feel like it's kind of weird sometimes when adults go and interact with these characters like at length. Like I don't know if everybody has the same opinion as me, but I just feel like a lot of the characters, I think it just kind of gets a little weird to me, like seeing adults interacting with them, because it's like, I get it. Like there's such a thing as like Disney adults and people who love Disney. But personally for me, I just don't think I can go up to a character and like stay in character with them. Like
meanwhile, there's a line of like 50 children anxiously waiting to see their hero, and you're busy over there making your content.
And it's like, it's fine. Right. Like maybe you have that favorite character and you like seeing them all the time. But for me, I just can't jump over like the mental block of like, that's a person in there. Like, because like I was, okay, so I don't know if you have kids, cover their ears, but like I was also a cast member. So like seeing who was inside, like when they take off the face of Miss Incredible, seeing the person who was in there, it's like kind of like, oh, like it's kind of, this is really strange to me. Or like seeing whoever it may be like under the costume, it just doesn't feel like I can jump over that and be like, yeah, like this is this character who I absolutely love and I can go talk to them, because it's just like, that's another person.
I always try to remember when I get excited, because there are moments where I get in the moment. And I try to remind myself that, and this statistic could be off. It used to be correct, but it could be off. I believe it's from a David Koenig book. And he mentions, I think it was one of the Mouse Tales. And he's like, the majority of performers are female, like in costume. And if you recognize that as a male, you go, I need to be more careful with Tigger than maybe I think I need to be.
Right.
Do we want to ruin some magic for a second?
Sure.
Go for it.
Okay. So Tigger is usually a man, and that's the reason why nobody should ever rub Tigger's tummy. Ever.
Nope.
Don't do it.
Oh my God.
Because it happens a lot and it's bad. It never ends well.
Oh, my childhood.
And Tigger is almost always a guy, because Tigger has to be like 5'10".
Yeah.
Ish. There are a lot of women. You're right. I mean, I played fur character wise exclusively male characters, except Mrs. Incredible. She's the only one fur character wise that I played that was female. And the amount of men that just stuck their hands right here.
Oh, Jesus
Christ. Great.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those of you who can't see because this is audio, they would just grab my boobs, both of them, just like full on. And it was great.
Okay, I have a boob. I have a male boob story along those lines. So I was at Magic Kingdom during Gay Days. And I was there with
Lady Tremaine wears red. I don't know if you know.
I know. So I was there in my red shirt with my buddies, who are all similar to me. If you don't know the gay subculture of bears, we're all bears. Right. And so we go on Splash Mountain, which has a very prominent bear, right? And so we get off the ride and we're soaked. Like I'm literally just soaked wet, with, you know, headlights on. And basically sorry, guys have them too. We get to the end of the exit, and there's Brer Bear for a photo. Now, I'm not going to give the name of the performer because they would have been fired, but this was so funny. We pose with them, and he's like being all chummy, and he's like doing this to my beard and pointing to his face, and like I'm a bear too, right? He's without saying anything. It's very cute. He puts his arms over us because he's really tall, right? And his hand is right here, and he goes flip, and he flips my nipple on purpose. And I back up, and look at him. I'm like, there is a big old girl in that suit, is there not? And he's like acting all coy. So. And I'm like, I'll see you later at the Full Moon Saloon over on won't I? You know. Anyway, I didn't think anything of it. I'm telling this story 10 years later at a party, and the guy I'm telling the story to jaw drops, and I worry like, oh God, does he know who this? He's like, that was me. And I'm like, all right, let's make out. So,
It's only right.
Side note, gay days. Wearing the red dress for gay days, so much fun.
oh, I bet.
I got a lot of questions.
I bet. And you know what? Not that, I mean, gays can throw shade. Not all gay people are wonderful and funny. But at gay days, I always find the character interactions to be really kind of funny and pure. Nobody gets really dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the
You loved
performers
it.
that I know said they love gay days, right?
It's the best because, do you want to know something? Those were like the weeks that I would not get assaulted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Jesus
No, I
Christ.
know that sounds so. Janine is like, I'm breaking her brain, but like,
So depressing.
I know it sounds like very morbid, but I never worried about my own personal safety
Yeah.
or being sexually assaulted during gay days. Never, not once.
Yeah.
But literally every other day. And if it was free dining plan week, forget
Oh,
it.
boy.
I was getting the crap kicked out of me.
God.
So I did have a question because there was that video
Yeah.
that was going around of that girl on the podcast. I forget what the podcast was, but she was
It
apparently
was Barstool. It was one of the
Yeah,
Barstool ones, right?
Of course, it's Barstool.
Yeah.
But she,
Oh.
of course, but she was apparently spilling tea about the Disney princesses, and like it didn't really seem like she even knew what she was talking about. Like she didn't look like a Disney princess to me. So like, what are your thoughts like on that whole entire situation?
So this is another situation where those of us in our like private groups, we were talking about it. My opinion is that about 75% of what she was saying was a complete lie and fabrication that she made up to go viral. What happens is, and I said this when we were kind of setting up for this podcast. I was actually interviewed for another podcast like 7 or 8 months ago, where one of the hosts lied to me about having been a performer, and I could tell they were lying to me, which was very awkward. So when somebody is on a platform like that and they're telling you these like cast member stories about princesses or whatever, it is very clear when they don't know what they're talking about because they will be very specific.
Mhm.
And it will dig them a grave. So she used a lot of terminology that does not get used.
Yeah.
She also, I was surprised that she ever was in Disney Entertainment. It sounds like she was a fur character for like a 3-month period. But the way she was talking about sharing costume, like essentially girls ripping costumes, and somebody being the lead Elsa, that's not how casting works. Number
Yeah.
one, there is no lead Elsa, and you don't get to like work your way to being the lead Elsa. They just, either you get it or you don't. It literally has nothing to do with anything. And everybody shares their dresses. So that story about Elsa's ripping dresses, like, I got news for you. If you ripped somebody's dress, you'd have to wear the dress tomorrow. So sucks for you. Like, it's like she was talking in a way that led me to believe that she didn't even know how casting or costuming worked, which doesn't make any sense. You check out costumes with barcodes. Like, you don't,
Right.
this is not a situation where every girl gets their own custom fitted dress. She clearly was lying.
She made it seem like it was like a drama Survivor type of situation where everybody was sabotaging.
When
Like,
it
I
really
was
is not like that at
yeah.
all.
No. And Victoria, you sent me a screenshot that she came out and like essentially admitted she lied, because all of these current and former face characters were going after her being like, you're lying. I was there during this time period. You said you were there. None of this ever happened. I mean, when I say the face characters were mobilized, it was insane.
Yeah, that's how you know she wasn't there, because she had no idea the wrath she was going to get from the community.
Yeah.
Oh, but you want to know the best part about this whole story, though?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you guys remember, there was a time where the Castle stage show used to be at the train station.
I did it at the train station.
Do you recall the incident where one of the chipmunks fell off the train?
Oh, yeah. I remember this connection.
Yeah, that was her.
Yeah.
She's the one that fell.
She's the one that fell.
She probably
and
has a
that's
personal vendetta against Disney. That's why she said all that.
No, she probably has a vendetta against face characters. That's what happens a lot of times. They wanted to be a face character, they never were, and so they just like make up stories.
That's literally what it was coming off as, because it just felt like she was just like angry for like no reason. Like it just didn't seem to be adding up.
The one thing I'm trying to figure out, and you guys might be able to help me out here, because the connection with her was Barstool Sports. What's Barstool's? All of a sudden, there is this new relationship, sort of Barstool being anti-Disney fans, and the guy who does the pizza crap being at Pizza Rizzo. Is there what is that thing going on? Is it a thing, or am I making it up?
No, it's my theory is that they're trying to get in with the connection of ESPN. That's my theory. But then I also heard they were rejected from any media access with that. So I don't know what exactly it is. But as far as I've known, they've always like shitted on Disney adults. So
But it feels like the current trend right now is to shit on like Disney adults. Like there's countless YouTube channels that are making videos on it, like TikToks, all that. So like it's not anything new, I feel like. Just
have they go back, just do a Google search to like advertisements for Disneyland in the 50s and 60s. They used to specifically market towards adult and the date crowd and the after 5 o'clock crowd. Yeah. Like they had swing dancing at the Plaza Inn. This is not new. This is not new.
It was up until the 90s, right? Where they were advertising towards like teens, adults, and like just like that younger crowd. Right?
Videopolis.
Yeah.
Woo!
I wish I was like alive during that time. It looked like a lot of fun.
I know. Right?
I got kicked out of that. I got kicked out of Videopolis for Dancing with Boys. Did we talk about this already? Yeah.
Off mic. We did off mic.
Oh, we did off mic. So yeah, I went. I was 15 or 16 when Videopolis opened, and it was like, you know, after like 5 o'clock, it was like a cheaper ticket. So we'd go with our friends, and we would sit on the sidelines of the dance floor and smoke cloves in our goth. I was like the prep amongst goths, and I got kicked out multiple times for smoking cloves or dancing with and kissing boys. So there you have it.
They were just haters. Hater energy
Haters.
again.
All that homosexual dancing, you know.
Can't have it.
Can't have it.
Before we move on to the next topic, I just want to thank Jessica for hanging out with us today and giving us all her Disney performer expertise. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you come back.
Absolutely. I was happy to be on here. Thank you guys so much for being awesome. And I found my hometown brother right here.
Joyzy!
But it's so great. You have to tell them. The ones that weren't in here when we talked about it.
Yeah, we already established Janine's from New Jersey as well, and we bonded on the first episode.
Sure.
But we mentioned it to Jessica, and she's like, "Get out, where?" And she said Monmouth County. I'm like, "Oh my God, I was in Monmouth County." And I said I was born in Red Bank and lived in Spring Lake. She's like, "Oh my God, I lived in Spring Lake." I'm like, "Oh, we lived on Old Mill Road." She's like, "My parents lived near Old Mill Road." Like it was literally like
neighbors.
It was, you are my new best friend, Jessica. Next time I come to Orlando, we are hanging out and drinking around the world together.
Well, that's perfect. So like, what are all your socials? So like, if we have anybody that wants to like check you out.
No, that's a great point. So my TikTok is at Tremaine Talk. My Instagram is at Tremaine Talk Jessica, and I am Tremaine Talk on YouTube as well.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, and we really, really, really want you to come back in the future.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I would be happy to. Just name the time and place, y'all.
Nathan, so do you want to go ahead and tell us about what's been going on with Disney, the Federalist Society, and DeSantis, if you want to go for it?
I don't want to talk about any of this crap, but yeah, I will. Because of course I brought it up, but let's start with there's two things that sort of happened since the last episode that I think are interesting. One is from Jason Garcia's Substack. He is writing, the title of his article was Ron DeSantis Risks Selling Out His Republican Base to Help Disney. So if you don't know, our lovely governor here, who is a turd in a suit, has been creating a bill that he hopes will crack down on big tech oligarchs because he just likes to make a big fuss and act like he's going to run for president. And this bill, of course, legislation SB 7072 was supposed to kind of like take companies like Facebook and Twitter and allow sort of a threat of civil lawsuits and state investigations. But here's the little kicker. Disney sort of sidled up and said, hey, you know, we got a lot going on in those spheres with Disney Plus streaming and things like that. And your bill makes it sound like you're going to do all websites and not specific social media websites. And we really don't want that. And so, not surprisingly, some emails got released that were coming from sort of inside what was going on. And they were talking about how Disney wanted new language for what was in the bill. And there was, I got to find it because it's really funny. They talk about how they were concerned that, well, if we sort of take theme parks and make them something else, what happens if, and the quote is, so if they bought this is about Facebook. So if they bought a theme park and named it Zuckerland and they met the definition of a theme park under Florida statute, then the answer to that would be yes. So they're really concerned about like, oh, well, we need to appease Disney, but at the same time, we need to make it so Mark Zuckerberg can't create Zuckerland and get around these rules, which, first of all, nobody wants to go to Zuckerland. That's not going to happen. But it's just really interesting to see, and this is not a new example. This is sort of a prime example of the big sort of, and this is no matter where you look in Florida politics, but currently, of course, the GOP are in charge. And like any industry state, they fold really quickly on their beliefs if it in any way gets in the way of the industry at hand. So Disney is, of course, the big 60-pound mouse in the corner that's always making things happen. But don't give Disney any credit for wanting to do any of this because we, of course, have talked about gay days, and Disney in the last couple of years has been very lovely about creating Pride merch. Well, remember, when you're doing that Pride merch, just over at the Yacht and Beach, Disney allowed the Federalist Society, the Florida chapter of the Federalist Society, to have their conference at Yacht and Beach featuring prime speakers of Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch, former Vice President Mike Pence, and of course Ron DeSantis. So if you don't know what the Federalist Society is, the Federalist Society is basically the one who chooses for Republicans who's going to be on the Supreme Court. It's a big group. Every Supreme Court justice that is currently conservative leaning on the Supreme Court was chosen by the Federalist Society. They've been members of the Federalist Society. That's, of course, why Gorsuch is speaking or has spoke at this conference. So any legislation that you see that is anti-LGBT, Q coming from DeSantis, or the white big piece of bread loaf that is Mike Pence, or especially Gorsuch when he makes decisions, remember, Disney allows these people on property. Now, I'm not someone who thinks that you should just, tout, well, don't let these people in because that's dangerous and you should be open to business. But at the same time, if you're literally creating keys about diversity and you're literally you're making your brand about progressive value and changing Splash Mountain and doing all these fancy business
and on
things.
Black History Month, no less.
And you're putting on Black History Month. Maybe you should have the Federalist Society also meeting at your park and paying you while also making side deals.
Do we know that they paid? Because I swear I saw somewhere that they allow certain.
Well, even worse.
No, that's worse. I think that's.
I mean,
I don't know if that's true or not. I just remember seeing something and I can't find it now.
I can't imagine Disney not wanting to make a buck off a big group like that. Just
especially if they're trying to get carve-outs in Florida legislature.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's awful. The Federalist Society can fuck themselves, and yeah, it's gross that Disney invites these groups, but there is no ethical consumption under modern capitalism at all. Right. It's just kind of impossible. And so not that I'm letting the Disney company off the hook, but to me, there's almost this like, the diversity fifth key, the inclusion fifth key that they came up with in the new diversity program within the company. They are putting their money where their mouth is. When that's concerned, it's not set dressing. Like they really are walking the walk, And so in a way, I'm a glass half full guy. To me, that's the company going, yeah, we'll have your little Federalist thing, but screw you guys. We're also being more diverse, and we're going to make movies in the future that are not just about you old white guys. Like, I hope that's.
But they're also heavy donors.
Yeah, I know. That's right. Right, and that's the thing. It's
one thing to let them buy your property if that's the case, and it's another to give them the money that they used to rent your.
And every company donates to both sides. Like even the ones that score like 100% on the yearly HRC or GLAAD or whatever, companies to work for or company funding of politicians. There's always they're never 100% one side. They just never are. It's just not the way it works.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but not surprising. I feel like that's the only way to go about it.
Yep.
But it's so on brand that it's the Yacht and Beach Club. So on brand.
Oh yeah. You couldn't have picked the whitest possible hotel.
Exactly. Had it been like Coronado Springs or whatever, I've been like, ooh, but we're just tired of talking about these people. So let's just move on and talk about Kermit. Yeah, our favorite little frog.
Oh my goodness.
I'm flailing my arms like, yay!
Yes, exactly. The Rainbow Connection is just a steady pulsing thrum in my mind.
That is my jam. It's my jam.
There was a tweet today by Kermit the Frog. Someone asked him what his favorite ride at Walt Disney World is. And I was just delighted. He chose Living with the Land.
Living with the Land supremacy, like
it's
Victoria
so good.
Said.
It does. It has no weight. It's air conditioned. It's untouched. It's beautiful. It's the whole thing.
Yeah, his actual response was so great. He said, "We all know it's not easy being green, but they make it look easy." And I'm like, "Oh my god, on brand, so on brand."
And Nathan put this fantastic image in my mind when we were talking about it earlier of putting a Kermit in the farmhouse scene, sitting on the porch strumming a banjo. Like, come on, put them up. It's in the Living with the Land. Like, if you're gonna update it, which I would have been previous to this thought being put in my head, firmly against. The Muppets, they could go in there. They could go anywhere.
You have Kermit who is introducing, and you have some Kermit animatronics in the farm, and then of course you get to the more bio, the hydroponics, and it's very Muppet Labs, and you've got Beaker and Honeydew,
Beaker.
Like there's lots of fun stuff. I mean, I always thought that Beaker and Honeydew should take over. And just have a Muppet Labs ride where Imagination currently is, if they're not going to do a Figment thing, or with Figment. But if you're not going to do anything there, I think, give us. I have no issue with one Muppet ride per park.
The Muppet Great Movie Ride concept was from Joe Lanzisero was so good, so great.
Yeah, I love someone said that it was why didn't Kermit? The comment was something like, why didn't Kermit pick Muppet Vision 3D? And someone was like, Kermit's not arrogant enough to pick his own ride.
He's too pure for that. He's got to throw the credit elsewhere.
Yeah.
We all know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
It goes without being said.
I guess we do have a Muppet Eatery at Epcot, so go ahead and give us an attraction overlay as well. We'll take it. I mean, literally, just call it Being Green. It's great.
That's actually you're actually onto something, and I mean this honestly. Like, the Muppets are a great inroad for educational content at Epcot.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right? Because they can be funny about it without making fun of it. Right? Mm-hmm. And it makes you swallow the medicine, and it's so earnest, right?
Yeah.
I just feel like if we're going down the path of like adding IP into everything, The Muppets should get
The
there.
Muppets.
Yeah,
It's the
and it's
final
just
scene.
that it's perfect.
That final scene, you have like those screens and you have like new things and you got Rainbow Connection playing and like
Oh my god, I
like
would
you
weep
will
every
weep.
time.
Yeah.
We just need an update to Epcot in general.
They,
It's like-
they need to sneak Rizzo into Ratatouille. That's the like hide him somewhere.
Oh my
course.
god, I would
just running around.
If you're gonna get a Mr. Limpet in Little Mermaid, you should at the very least have a
True.
Rizzo.
But since we're talking about the parks already, Janine.
Oh yes, for our Mickle and Diming
Yes.
segment, let's go. This is like the real story about Mickle and Diming, I think, which is Genie Plus. I think it's $15 to start, and then $15 on top of that, and then certain rides are $8. It's kind of like this insane snowball of fees, and somehow there was an earnings call. Chapek said that between 1/3 and half of all guests are buying this service, which I don't know if you guys have ever tried it. I did it one time. I wasn't that into it.
Yeah, and
It's a hit or miss.
it's a hit or miss.
It's very
Yeah.
miss for me.
Here's the thing, though, for the California folks here, we've had this for what,
Right.
4 years now.
Max Pass.
We had Max Pass, and to be honest, after the first sort of initial sticker shock, the benefit of it in terms of not having to walk around the park was actually so good that like I want to see what were the sales numbers for Disneyland. Because I think we might be making too big a deal out of this. I think Disneyland was making bank on Max Pass, and it was just sort of accepted as part of the service. But what the thing is, though, the old pass system, the old annual pass system, you added what was $180, $150
Yeah,
to pass,
around there.
and you got permanent fast pass for the year, Max Pass for the year. So it was totally worth it, right? So
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't that out. Now I have to buy it every single time. So
Yeah, but also I feel like it didn't hurt that much because it's like I could still go into the park if I didn't want to get Max Pass that day and still be able to get a Fast Pass. But
Yeah.
now
Right.
with Genie Plus, it's
Now
like
it's- right.
either you get it or you don't, and you're gonna wait
Yeah.
in that 70-minute line no matter what.
Yeah, because I saw that
Yeah.
they give priority to the point where it's like they'll let
It's a lot.
90%, it's like 90-10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, it's
ratio of how
90-10.
it's
That's what it is.
insane.
Since Genie Plus came out, like I think it's only been twice that I've gone to the parks without using it because it's become super like it's impossible to like wait in those lines as like
Yeah.
and I know it sounds entitled and like ridiculous.
No, but it's insane.
yeah.
As a pass holder, I don't go to spend
The entire
90
day.
minutes to
Yeah.
2 hours in a line per ride. I don't want to
Yeah.
wait 2 hours for the Tower of Terror. Like it's one of my
Right.
favorite rides, but it's not worth a 2-hour wait. And it's artificially 2 hours just so they can
Mhm.
increase their income by what is it, $300 million?
Well, it also doesn't help that there's no longer an off season. Like we're essentially
Yeah.
on a permanent
Yeah.
peak season. So you're gonna have to buy it no matter when you go.
yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
me genuinely not want to renew my pass because I'm a household of 3. If I'm already paying for food, I'm already driving an hour and a half. I'm probably getting a hotel a lot of the time, and like adding $45 a day for the
It adds up.
pleasure of just getting on a ride is insane
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah,
It
it
just
is.
it's getting, especially because at Disneyland it's $20, and I guess because we have like a couple more rides, but like for us, for example, like it's like $100 for the pass, and then luckily if you get the Dream Key, you're getting free parking, so you don't have to pay the $30 for parking, and then on top of that it's the like I said, the $20, and then if you want to go on like any of the big ticket attractions, it's another like what is it, $12 to $15 or
Yeah.
$12 to
It's for each
$20
one.
if you want rides.
Yeah.
And then food and merchandise, like it's really adding up to the point where it's like you're probably spending $200 to $250
Yeah.
a month
Yeah.
for if you're getting the Dream Key, which is the most
Right.
expensive one.
If you're
So,
going often.
Yeah,
That's if
and
you
it,
can even get the heck in.
Yeah. And
it's
the
gotten
thing
better, but
the thing that's weird is, so we have friends that are coming down next week, and she called us and was like, do I need to get this? My mom thinks we really need to get this. That's the only way it's going to like be a good experience. And we told her, no, you really don't. And my experience is if you know what you want to do and you're good at planning and you're good at thinking through it, and like, unless you're wanting to ride Rise 3 times in a day, like you can usually get through stuff. And if you're like AP tolerance, I understand what Janine's talking about. It's like if it's like over 30 minutes, I'm like,
Right, it's not worth
Yeah.
it.
I'll get a drink. But if you're coming once, that your tolerance is a little better, and I don't think there's still a reason, like a perfect reason to get it. At least from my experience. Now, here's the thing that I think is sucky beyond belief, which is, of course, Chapek is sort of priding himself on that 1/3 of the guests are getting it. And it's sort of saying like, hey, we took all these people hostage and like we got over 1/3 of them to tie the other half up. Like so it's a success. We're very good. You gave them no other choice, and then you act like it's a success. Like it's not a success. It is what it is because you've changed the rules. And I think that's what's despicable more than anything else is when that's the problem with this capitalist mindset, which is always, well, we made money. Like we're doing, like there was this thing from I don't even remember now. Maybe I think it was Theme Park Insider today, and they were like, "Leave Bob Chapek alone. Like he's made money for the company. He's not going anywhere." And I kind of have to go, yeah, he made that money now, but those people aren't coming back next year. Like they're not going to pay for this every single time, and that's the part that I don't think they fully understand yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the long-term effect has yet to be seen. Personally, out in Disneyland, I've gone 4 times since it was initiated. I did 2 times with it. It was like Max Pass. It was very familiar. I only used the actual Lightning Lane upcharge once, and that was to do Rise. And then the 2 times I didn't use it at all, I actually found the planning part of Genie Plus, the non-charged, the one you don't have to pay for, you can still plan and you can still look at not just wait times, but say, here are my top 4 or 5 that I want to do. I tried that and it actually works pretty well. Like there is a free amount of, there's a free version of that data. It's still not, it's still hierarchical. It's still a caste system of haves and have-nots. But even the have-nots have now, through this technology. My bigger thing is like, yes, everybody carries a mobile phone now. Not everybody can afford unlimited data. That's changing, obviously, with all the companies.
Thank you for bringing that up. Like, I think it's very ableist. Of Genie. Like, I think Genie Plus is ableist. I really do.
No, I agree.
It's also like, I how many times has my phone run out of batteries and I have to carry another one with me while in a full day?
That's my worry, and especially with the pivot to like mobile food ordering.
Oh, I hate that.
What am I supposed to do if my kid is hungry and my phone is dead?
That's the part I hate the most. The relying only on mobile food ordering is awful.
There are a lot of places in Disneyland that are just mobile order.
It's
Here too.
Yeah, I was really surprised during my last visit about that. Like, I went to the place in New Orleans Square where you get the mint julep.
I forget what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like I went over there and like I just wanted like a hot chocolate because it was like cold for some reason, and I had to mobile order it. Like I had no other choice.
And the entire time you're just sitting around staring at your phone, waiting for it to tell you that it's ready. And it's like, I don't go to Disney just to sit and stare at a screen. I'm like,
exactly. Like, and I could have been on a ride. I could have been waiting in line for a ride. I had to wait almost 40 minutes for a hot chocolate.
And the lines, like the purpose of having counters to order at is that you can have organized lines to figure things out.
Yeah.
If you've been to sort of that merge area near Pecos Bills at the Magic Kingdom, kind of by Splash Mountain going to Pirates, that place is now just full of like, I don't know, they look like goats or lemmings, just people standing there like unsure of when they're going to get their order and what's going on. And they're not in line. They don't have it. So not only do they have no idea, which is bringing anxiety to them on how long they're going to wait, but there's no structure for how they should stand or where they should stand. Like everyone's just sort of around.
That's you see it outside Pizza Rizzo as well. Like the entire Muppet Plaza is just like people like sitting against the wall on the floor and like laying on a fountain. It's just
Yeah.
Because
But
you can't, for a lot of these, you can't even go and sit until you get your order,
Yeah,
depending on how the,
yeah.
the
Right, like you're
building
just
is.
hanging around.
Yeah.
I did want to go back to the point though of saying that it was like ableist because I feel like the process has become way more complicated to like have a Disney vacation or to just like go to the parks like regularly.
Right.
I feel like it's really difficult because not everybody has a smartphone. And I feel like, and I know
Yeah.
that sounds ridiculous to say nowadays, but
No,
not
it's true. It's absolutely true.
yeah, and it's like if like, I feel like we're also forgetting the international guests or even the guests who are just in the US who don't even who don't really even speak English. So it's like to have it be that much more complicated and to have someone who's coming to Disneyland or Disney World for the first time and having to use this complicated app or this like entirely new system and have it not be in their first language, it's very difficult. And you always
I had a hard time figuring out the park reservation system. It took months of use for me to feel confident making a reservation.
And you'll see that line for guest services, like it's literally all day long. That line just does not like get smaller at all. So I just think that I feel like they should have done, which is why I really liked Max Pass, was because if you don't have a smartphone or if you don't really know how to use it very well,
You
or
still
you're
get a paper
older,
ticket.
Yeah, you can still get a paper, and it's like I'm very forgetful, so just like the paper tickets are really nice, and it just feels like it kind of catered to everyone. But now with Genie Plus, it really doesn't.
It's very elitist.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Part of it feels like, they spent we've all seen the Defunct Land queuing video, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is required watching for anybody who has any interest in theme parks at all. It's a blisteringly
amazing.
entertaining,
It's a
almost 2 hours.
masterpiece.
It's fucking amazing. And this is coming from a guy who's like, I've designed these kind of systems. I understand queues. I understand park and design day and throughput and all those things. So the fact that with the way he presented it in such an entertaining manner was just chef's kiss. But like Disney has spent so much money on Magic Plus and what they called what did they call it when they were designing it 10 or 15 years ago? The Connected Park Initiative or something. I had friends that did Imagineering or worked on it. And it feels like they've spent so much money that it's too big to fail now. So no matter how crappy it's going to get, they have this infrastructure of billions of dollars of software and back end that they've paid for.
Which is
that
wild because the user interface is terrible.
Yeah, it's dog
it's
shit.
terrible.
Horrible.
It's dog shit. But like it's like they have to double down because it'll take more money to rip that Band-Aid off than it will be to just keep doing it and maybe find a balance. Who knows?
And I think the other thing too is COVID gave them an excuse to try things quickly.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these things would have been tested out a lot more, but all of a sudden it was, okay, everything now needs to be mobile order. Do it like now. And so I think even some of the things that they do can be good. It is a mix of opportunity and using an opportunity, but not having the time to do it right.
And the truth of and the proof in the pudding really has not happened yet. Like we haven't been through a full summer.
No.
With that system.
Not at full capacity either.
Yeah.
Not at full capacity. Right. Oh boy. Summer 2022. Ooh boy.
Couldn't be
boy.
Gonna
I
be
don't know
rough.
about y'all. I'll be at Hershey Park.
So moving on from the crime lord Bob Chapek to another one, Boba Fett. So a couple of you guys have seen the series. What are your thoughts?
Being the guy who was 7 when Star Wars came out, I mean, I want to say first that like I will always watch a Star Wars. I don't care what it is. I'm gonna watch it. I will probably enjoy it even when it's not great. I will very much enjoy it when it's awesome. Last Jedi.
Amen.
Flame me, but it's amazing and it's what it's what it needed. It's what and I love Mandalorian and you know I like this serialization. I've been making the case that Star Wars works better as a series than it does as movies because it started as short form serials. Like it's a natural. Having said that, Boba Fett is a mess.
Yeah.
The first 4 episodes bored the crap out of me. I just found it boring. I like the episode with the Sand People where he joins their tribe and goes on the little vision quest. I thought that episode as a standalone was great. Yeah. And but it would meandered. Like I'm like, where's this going? And then all of a sudden, Mando shows up for 2. It felt like course correction. Like they got a ways in the show, and they're like, this isn't working. What else do we do? You know, and then the last 2 episodes are like fan service, fan service, fan service, fan service. You're done.
Yeah.
And I kind of finished it like, welp, that was a thing.
Yeah.
That happened. I can't celebrate it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it.
Yeah. Victoria?
It was a thing. No, like so, like again, similar to Dave, if it's got Star Wars slapped on it, I'll watch it. So like with Boba Fett being obviously one of the most badass, like probably the badass of bounty hunters in the show. I was hyped for it. I was just very confused. Like there was a point when I watched it, I was 4 episodes behind because I was so confused and so bored, and I pushed through and I was like, okay, why is Mandalorian here? Where is Boba Fett? Like, why is Luke Skywalker here? What is happening?
Spoiler alert. Here's Luke for a half an hour just because we know you want to see him.
Yeah.
Right. I was so confused. I'm like, wait, so is this like, are we segueing into the next season? Like,
it's Mandalorian 2.5 is the best description I've heard of it.
It's less Book of Boba Fett and more 2 novella collections of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. Like there's not it's totally different. It's totally different story for like 2 episodes.
I will say this though, whatever episode Bryce Dallas Howard directed,
I heard that one was good.
Yeah.
That was the one
She's
where
great.
it got really weird. Like it was just no Boba Fett, but it was very well done. Now the finale itself, can we talk about the finale?
Yeah.
The finale with the weird Godzilla versus King Kong thing. I was just so confused.
It was Star Wars kaiju. It was, I mean, to be honest, I saw that coming, obviously, right? Like I in my head, I'm like, oh, the rancor that they set up 5 episodes ago has to come back here. And you know, my inner 13-year-old remembering it from Jedi, I was like, okay, this makes me happy. You know, I still will never forgive them for the brightly colored scooters gang, because that was just ridiculous.
That was so stupid.
So not Star Wars.
You mean the CW superheroes in the middle of a Star War?
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh my god, I was just
like, I was super jazzed when they announced it. I'm like, Boba Fett. Okay, now we're into something. Because you guys know, like, Boba Fett was this. There's a really great documentary on Disney Plus about Boba Fett that gives all this backstory that, like, and you know, sort of kind of introduced in the Christmas special, in the animated thing, the Ralph Bakshi thing, and then like it was this hard to get action figure. And so I was primed and ready, like, oh, I want to learn this mystery of Boba Fett. And now, having seen it, I'm like, I don't want to learn the mystery of Boba Fett. I want Boba Fett to be a mystery. I don't care.
You still have a mystery because he doesn't do anything. Like he doesn't talk that much, and that was a conscious choice, and I don't hate it. But the problem is the series does this, I think, a fairly good thing, which is, it says, okay, well, he can't be. First of all, Boba Fett's never really been that badass. If you really truly watch the old movies, he sits around and he walks with. That's true. He doesn't do anything. Like it's all in our heads that Boba Fett's cool. There's nothing that suggests it.
Yeah, I mean, his fall into the Sarlacc pit is literally played for laughs.
Yeah, it's
played for laughs.
If they hadn't had The Mandalorian before this, I think we would have been like, cool, whatever you can give us. But now we have somebody we already have hopes and love for, and they look kind of the same, and they're younger and hipper, and you know, and like Boba's an old man, like he's an old man.
I mean, Cad Bane's an old man,
but Cad Bane
I'd hit it.
Cad Bane is, you know, like an alien, so he gets away with it. I don't hate that the show wants to talk about Boba Fett's desire to figure out who he is post this fairly large failure, and decide that interestingly enough, he's been a loner forever and needs community, and probably the first community he's had since his father passed away.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. Tell me about it, because it's very much that my favorite episode's the episode with the Sand People, which I think is derogatory now. I don't know.
Sorry, it's not Sand People. It's what were their names again?
Tusken Raiders.
Tusken Raiders. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful tale. And I didn't really love that they died. I thought that was cheap, and we've seen it already. But then they have to sort of like come out of nowhere at the last episode and be like, well, you know that they were actually killed by the mob that you're fighting. And like, you're like, well, you're just trying to connect loose ends that don't really have, and he kind of, and then at the end, he's like, oh, I didn't, like, everyone's respecting him. And he's kind of like, oh, I didn't know if this is what I wanted, but I guess that's what I got. Like, and he's still trying to figure it out. And it just doesn't feel like an arc. It feels very half-baked, especially when you take literally 45% of your show and you put your entire emotional connections. Anytime someone's like, oh, I absolutely loved this part, or I love it, it's all about Grogu, it's all about Luke, and it's all about Mando. It's never about the Book of Boba Fett. And I think that's the big issue, is we found out that when you have a character who's a mystery and then you try to unravel the mystery of that character, sometimes it's really boring.
I have to say my favorite moment in terms of how the series ended is basically that Grogu throws a middle finger to the Jedi and to Luke, like, no, I'm going with this guy. Like, in a way, I like it because it's literally like, hey, fanboys, you wanted to see a show about Luke? Fuck you. He's done. That's not happening anymore. That's not happening. Stop it. You know, it warms my Last Jedi loving heart that Grogu is going off to do something else
and not following the failure who is Luke Skywalker.
Right.
Do you guys think that like they're ever gonna move on from like the old Star Wars? Because to me, what like kind of made me not even they're doing the High Republic, which takes place like a couple thousand years before all of this stuff. It's like Jedi in their prime, creating the initial councils and stuff. I just want a new planet. I'm tired of the sand.
You don't like sand? Do you hate sand?
No, I don't like sand.
Well, they blew all the other ones up. They only got so many planets they can use.
I wanted them to explore the casino planet scene or whatever from The Last Jedi.
We're expecting, I believe we're still expecting a Lando TV series. And so all I want's a heist show. Just give me a heist show. Just give me Lando.
Yeah.
And bring back, I like Solo. I don't think it's the best movie in the world, but I like what they're trying to do.
I liked it a lot, yeah.
Bring back people from Solo. That's fine by me. And have a heist. Do some heisting, because that's fun.
Agreed.
But yeah, Book of Boba Fett's more like Book of Boba Fart. So
you've been teeing that up for a week, haven't you?
I've been thinking about it for a while.
He was ready for that.
Well, here's a heist that you guys might want to hear about. The puns are coming in. So SeaWorld has taken over.
Well, they put in a bid.
They put in a bid. So
they put in a bid. Okay, so tell us about that.
So Cedar Fair, if folks don't know, is the second largest, I guess, regional park operator after Six Flags, right? They've got 17. They've got 17 facilities, and it's a mix of a lot of theme parks, some water parks, and then some sports facilities around the country. Most notably, like Knott's Berry Farm, which they bought in the 90s, Kings Island and Kings Dominion, and Canada's Wonderland and Carowinds, which they bought from Paramount, they bought from Paramount in 2006. That's why I lost my job.
Oh, no.
No hurt feelings?
Not bitter, not at all. No, so they're a huge operator, and SeaWorld has put in a $3.4 billion bid to buy them.
Dang.
And people are surprised, and they're like, isn't SeaWorld losing money? And like, nope, SeaWorld's actually making a ton.
Yeah.
I think part of that is actually the money and licensing coming in for the Abu Dhabi park that they're building, the big indoor SeaWorld that's under construction right now, which I worked on for a little while. That's going to be very impressive, by the way. But yeah, they're doing great, and they're trying to get away from being just animal parks, and they're definitely getting away from large mammal animal parks. They're going to have aquariums and sea lion and otter shows and maybe a dolphin show, but whales are being phased out. So they're very much interested in how do we expand our brand to include more thrill rides and coasters. So it kind of makes sense. The part that doesn't make sense to me as an industry person is I don't think the corporate cultures will go together well. Cedar Fair, other the knots. I think that Cedar Fair is finally finding their way, but for a long time they were pavement and trash cans and coasters. I'm being honest. I did the park walks with the Cedar Fair people when they were buying it from Paramount. I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna fucking ruin these places. So
and they did. I was there.
And they did for a very long time. They did, but they find their voice again. Knott's especially is a great example, and I think they're learning from Knott's. Oh, we need to appeal to the long timers who've been coming to these parks forever and not just put in a coaster every 3 years, Yeah. So I think I think they get it. But culturally, they couldn't be more different than SeaWorld. And more importantly, Six Flags tried to do this already. Six Flags offered what, $4 or $5 billion to Cedar Fair like a year?
Like 4.5.
Yeah, they offered more money, and Cedar Fair's like, screw you. So this is real ballsy of SeaWorld, but not a good fit in my professional opinion.
Yeah.
Do you think that Cedar Fair will take that offer?
They're considering it. They're reviewing it. And I don't know how they're doing. I know they were hit pretty hard, so I'm not quite sure if this is
post-COVID.
Yeah, all the regional parks suffered really, but I'm not sure how badly they're doing and how much they have to consider it. Yeah, and there's a lot of water parks in there, which could get some SeaWorld theming. They get some other IP like Peanuts that they don't have. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm really torn about it. I'll be very interested to see if it happens. But if it does, there's one of the cultures has to give. And I'm not sure if SeaWorld is the stronger and more vocal of the two cultures. I don't know. Have you guys ever been to a Cedar Fair park?
I've been to King's Dominion.
Yep.
I was a Kings Island boy growing up.
Like, one of the biggest things here is SeaWorld parks, by and large, are not seen by the public as regionals. They're destinations.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, that's why there's no Ohio anymore, for example.
Right. Ohio went away. And yes, the Sesame parks, but those are sort of minor and very, very, very local. They don't really count as regional because of their much smaller attendance. Right. So when you look at Cedar Fair as a regional park operator, it's like they put a lot of money and a lot of people and a lot of big rides operating every year. And I think SeaWorld's like, we want that for our brand. Yeah. I think this is a branding exercise more than anything.
I think SeaWorld has shown, especially since Sesame Street, that they're better at theming than Cedar Fair, like beyond Knott's. And if that culture can get pushed into Kings Island, that'd be great. I have no issue with some more thematic elements. Because Davis, we've talked about it before, like for Kings Island, like Italian Job was it when it came to coasters that were themed. And that was your baby, and it was my favorite. And yeah, for sure, because I was a little bit of a weenie about the Beast. I would go on once, but
that is my favorite coaster in the world. It's the best. It really is.
But I think that park, of course, they had a little bit of slickness when Paramount was around, and you could call things Top Gun and have licensed music, and you could kind of theme certain aspects, and then that all went away and became very not that.
Right.
And so I think for me, SeaWorld could bring in a little bit of a thematic identity.
All I know is I bought a share. I bought $10 worth of shares, and I already lost money. It wasn't a lot. It was like 10 cents.
Not too bad.
So not.
But have you bought Dollywood shares, Victoria?
I think we might have to, because the Queen, the Queen Dolly Parton and her
Queen.
Same.
Every time a news story comes out about Dolly, my heart grows 3 sizes, because it's like, how can I love this? How can I love this woman more? She's
so iconic, so unproblematic, and we love her because she's offering free tuition to all her employees,
including seasonals.
I know.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's pretty great. It's a program called Grow You, which actually provides for a bunch of other companies. Taco Bell, even Disney and Lowe's and Walmart have this too. But they're more assistants. This is they are literally footing the bill,
including
and it is
books and other like all of it.
Yeah, and it's 30 learning partners in programs like business administration, leadership, culinary, finance, technology, and marketing. And in addition to the full funding, you can also get partial funding up to like $5,200 a year, I think, for 150 other programs in like hospitality and human resources and art and design.
That's good.
So it's crazy how influential this will be on park operations, and I have a feeling it will ripple through to other operators to have to step up, because this is in a world where companies are getting lambasted for not paying their employees enough. This is a really good step. If Dollywood also I hear is a really good operator in terms of how they treat their employees.
Yeah.
But this is an enticement for anybody who lives in that region. If I want to go get an education, why not work at Dollywood? Because they're going to pay for it for me.
Yeah, and Disney has their own through the Disney Aspire program, but it does not offer free tuition to this, like to that level. Or $5,200, that's like a lot of money, like for a college education. Like if you're going through
that would
like
cover my tuition for 2021 to 2022 at UF Online.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And this is all because, again, Dolly makes so much money with her songs and her music and all her yet unpublished and unreleased music, which we're going to see long after she's gone. And she's like, I have my money. I'm going to give this money away to good people because she's good people. I literally tweeted about it. I'm like, she is the capital B best capital P person. She is best person. If we can give a best person award, she is the best person. And this is, by the way, it's not just Dollywood. It's all of Hershen's attractions and facilities. Yeah. So it's Wild Adventures in Georgia, Adventure Aquarium in Jersey, Silver Dollar City, Kentucky Kingdom. So this is a really big deal.
Yeah.
How much money they're going to be spending on this. And it makes me want to be a teenager and go, I'm going to go work at Dollywood because they're going to pay for my college education.
I feel like it's amazing that she's doing that, because like even our own politicians can't do something like that, or like to cancel student debt, or like to even offer, like recently Jill Biden said that they're not going to be offering free college, community college. Yes.
Yep.
Which was like something that they promised. And it's like, if Dolly Parton, like if she could do it, like why the hell is the government not able to do that? It's of course she would do it because she's amazing.
Because Dolly cares. Yeah.
Dolly for president.
No, I don't want Dolly to be president because I like her right now. And there's that position. Dolly for emperor. Let's
I want to bring back the American monarchy and have Dolly for queen, because
Dolly
who
for
wouldn't
queen.
disagree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so we're finally getting towards the end. We're getting to our first question of this podcast. So Craig from Australia wants to know, what is the one attraction or ride that has gone from any theme park that if you had the power would bring back? It's a two-parter. So I'll ask you guys this one first and then the second part after.
Oh, this is a tough one.
Oof, that's a tough one.
I know mine right off the bat.
Victoria, please.
Go ahead, Victoria.
It's a 2-for-1. So it would either be Great Movie Ride at Hollywood Studios or Volcano from King's Dominion.
Volcano was fierce. That was a great coaster.
R.I.P. It was my
R.I.P.
childhood.
Volcano. It was so good.
It was
so good.
So good. It would just the fire never worked, and it was down too much.
Yeah. And what one would you put in the trash bin? Are we gonna do both for each person like that?
We could do that. Yeah. So
yeah,
the second part of the question was, what is the attraction, experience, or ride that you would scrap immediately, never to return?
I mean, technically it's already in the bin. The Voyage of the Little Mermaid.
Oh my god.
It's already in the bin, and it need not return.
I can see that.
All right, I'll go next. The attraction I would love back is actually an entire park. For you may not know that there was a Busch Gardens here in California.
Really?
There was?
Wow.
There's a Budweiser plant, and it used to have a Busch Gardens next to it, and it didn't have a lot of rides. It had like a flume ride and a boat tour through the aviary. It had the brewery tour, and where you get free beer, and I loved it. And the reason I would want it back is I want Busch Gardens with coasters. It would have evolved into that.
Yeah.
I hope. So that was the one I would love back. And if you don't know anything about it, look it up. It's a weird bit of Southern California, San Fernando Valley history. It's very cool. It closed in like mid to late 70s. So, and the one that can go away right now, is it too easy to say Fast and Furious Supercharged?
No, you can say it.
Yeah, you
Please,
can't
please,
say
please.
that one.
That's way too easy.
I want that ride gone.
Yeah.
Dinosaur. Fuck that ride. It's awful.
Oh,
Really?
Dinosaur.
interesting.
Wow.
Awful.
Wow.
Awful.
Wait, why?
You know
I want
what?
to know. I want to know why.
Why? Because they literally took the exact same track layout from
As
Indy, which is
Indiana
very-
Jones.
And so a purpose-built ride with a purpose-built set of scenes and pathway was shoehorned into this thing with dinosaurs that aren't great animatronics. It's so dark you can't see anything because otherwise you see the walls. Like it is. Since that ride opened, I hate that ride with the passion and fire of 1,000 suns. I think it's really terrible. Sorry to my friends who worked on it.
You're saying you would ride that or Fast and Furious?
I'd rather ride Fast and Furious than Dinosaur.
Wow.
Wow.
I think I've gotten used to it. It's a sensory overload ride. That's the only way that
Yeah.
it's scary is if you don't know what's going on. Yeah, I have a fondness for it, but only because it's as close to Indiana Jones as I can get here. And I would,
Yeah.
I can't say that I don't disagree if they wanted to turn that into South America and just turn it into Indiana Jones. I would do it in like a heartbeat. So, but that's not my choices. So one that I would bring back. This was really hard for me, and I wasn't sure necessarily what I wanted to do. And I still am not 100% sure because it feels like too much God power. But I think I want to bring back Confrontation only because I never got to write it. I would say Jaws, but Jaws is technically still around in Japan. So I think I'm going to say Confrontation. I don't necessarily know if it's that good of a ride, but I want to see big apes. And that ride's got big monkey boys. And that's interesting to me. It's a really pretty complex looking ride and it's fun. So I think I'll say Confrontation.
One that you would scrap.
Let's see here. I would scrap. This has been my normal answer for this for all times. In fact, when I used to work at Walt Disney World News Today, I wrote a whole article about it, which was I think that Hall of Presidents should be scrapped tomorrow and never see the light of day. Hall of Presidents is been bested by a far superior American story in Epcot. And it's weird to idolize. They always say, well, we're not idolizing the men. We're idolizing the position. That's also freaking weird, people. It's a strange show. It's mostly projection movies. And then like, I love all those robots on the stage, but it's just not interesting. And I don't like treating them like gods, like immortal beings. It's weird. So I'd scrap Hall of Presidents. Janine, you haven't went yet. Which are yours?
The ride that I would bring back it's actually very similar. There's a lot of parallels between the ride that I would kill and the ride that I would bring back between yours, Nathan. The ride that I would bring back is Horizons at Epcot. And for a
knew someone
similar
would say
reason,
it.
I know I've been on it, but I do not remember it at all. And so I really like my brother loves it. And like, I know for sure that that is the ride that he would bring back if he could. And so like, in homage to my brother, but also I want to know what it's about. And there's a really fascinating story about a couple of guys who regularly over the course of years were breaking into the defunct Horizons and like just chilling in it. Which there's like a small documentary about it. It's really interesting.
You can find all
Incredible.
the photos
It's
online.
incredible. Yeah, so great.
Hoot and Chief. If you're looking,
Hoot and Chief. I've met Hoot before.
oh yeah,
Oh, nice.
And he's a hoot and a half. He's great.
yeah.
And then the ride that I kill, you stole it. It was going to be the Hall of Presidents for me. I've never done it. I have no interest in doing it. I think it's weird. I don't like it.
Could you kill the Beauty and the Beast sing along for me since I already did Hall of Presidents?
Yes, that'll be my mine up for bid. I'm up for bid. What do you guys want to kill? Make me an offer. I'll kill it.
Sarah, finish this up. This is the longest episode in the world.
Yeah. So I'll say quickly, like what attraction I think should be brought back. I don't think any attraction should be brought back. Personally,
Ooh,
I'm all
hot
for
take.
Dang.
I'm for park
Innovation.
progression.
Hot take.
I like seeing new IPs. I like seeing new rides, new experiences. I just feel like it can get really boring. And like while I understand that there's a lot of like purists out there that want a lot of the old attractions, Walt's attractions, I just feel like we should just keep moving forward.
I do agree. I think there should be new theme park IP that's just for theme parks
Yeah.
so that like the next generations grow up with their own tiki room, like their own thing that's in the parks for
That's
them.
a whole episode. That's a whole episode right
Yeah.
there.
Might have to be the next
Ah.
episode. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the younger generation is just not connecting with like the older rides and the older IPs. So I feel like we just need something new.
Yeah.
But one attraction experience or ride or whatever that I would scrap, I would personally scrap all of Tomorrowland on both parks.
Yeah.
I get that.
I would.
I get that.
I would.
Including
Gotta go.
Space Mountain?
Okay,
Including
maybe not excluding Space Mountain, but the rest gotta go. I just feel like the Tomorrowland is so old. It just feels very old. It feels gross. I don't like it.
Sarah, Tomorrowland has had that issue since 1960.
I know.
It has. Yep, it has.
The future caught up with it, and I feel like that's the problem with Tomorrowland. It just has to go.
They own Futurama now, and the Florida one looks a lot like Futurama.
It
So
really
I would be happy if they did that.
Don't taunt me. They would never put Futurama.
I want to walk around Bender.
Kiss my
Absolutely,
shiny
100%.
metal
Check into
ass.
the suicide booth.
Yeah.
Picture.
Oh, wait. I know of a ride to bring back. I guess this is one. I would bring back the People Mover in Disneyland. I think it should
Okay,
bring back.
yeah, there you go.
Oh.
But you would
Yeah.
kill it
Yes.
in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, I would.
What is
I want a new.
You
I
went
want
full
a new People
Thanos.
Mover.
You split the difference.
Snap.
I want a new one. I want a new People Mover. I just feel like we just need new things. Like I feel like we can update it. Tomorrowland to me just feels very sticky. I don't know how to describe it, but it's sticky, like it just does to me. I don't know why.
Yeah. Can we have
But-
an honorable mention too, which is any Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin or any of those sort of
I love them.
cardboard laser rides?
I love them.
I'm
'cause
not saying they're
win
bad. I'm just
every
saying they
time.
look old. That's
I
all I'm
hate
saying.
You.
They
It
do.
just-
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
sticky. Feel very sticky and
Yeah.
gross. I don't know.
Well,
The Shanghai one's amazing, but nobody's seen it. It's so much
Right.
better than the other ones. But
I can still hear If You Had Wings on the one here in
if you had wings,
Orlando.
had
If
wings,
you
had
had
wings, had
wings.
wings.
If You Had Wings.
All right, so we've finally made it to the end. This podcast is produced by Nathan Hartman. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss any episodes, and tell your friends, tell everybody. We would love for you guys to subscribe. You can check out our website at ratcastlepodcast.podbean.com and get all of our links at bit.ly/ratcastle. It's also where you can ask us future questions. And now grab your belongings and exit to the left. It was fun talking with you guys.
Will you stop this foolishness?
What foolishness would you like to see?
Will you get out of here?